The best thing that you can do to support humanity right now is to create mind-body sovereignty. But what exactly does that mean? Well, in this episode, you'll learn the true meaning behind the word sovereignty, how to create mind-body sovereignty, and 12 signs that will help you understand when you're not in your sovereign state. In addition to that, I have important news. So today's thought leader is evolving into potent truth with Ruby Fremon. That's right, I am changing the name to align with my personal evolution and the evolution of my business. The name change should be in effect by the next episode if all goes well with iTunes. So be on the lookout for Potent Truth. In addition to that, my new book, Potent Leadership, will be released this July 2021. Make sure you're on the book waitlist to get first dibs on the book as well as the bonuses by heading to rubyfremon.com/book waitlist. That link and more will be in the show notes. And if you are someone who considers yourself to be awake and aware, a real truth seeker, a leader for this new earth, and you want to connect outside of social media, just head to rubyfremon.com/awake-aware to join my Awake and Aware community. You can also join the Awake and Aware community on Telegram, rubyfremon.com/Telegram. And finally, if you want to text with me, you'd be texting directly with me. Just text hashtag TTL to 1781-336-0160, and that will start you on a path to enter your information so that you can begin texting directly with me. So aside from that initial automated text message asking you to enter your information, all future text messages will be directly with me. Now, whether you are a loyal thought leader or a brand new listener, please take a moment to download a few episodes and drop a rating and review on iTunes. Please and thank you. And remember, hopefully by the next episode, you won't be listening to today's thought leader, you'll be listening to Potent Truth. Now, it is time to uncover what it really takes to create mind-body sovereignty. Hey, thought leaders, and welcome to another episode of today's Thought Leader. And actually, if all goes as planned, this will be the final episode that I record under the title of today's Thought Leader. So as I shared with you in the introduction, we are evolving. If you've been listening to me for a while or following me for a while, you know that I am a huge fan and advocate for evolution. We are not meant to stay the same. We are here to evolve. And leaders and entrepreneurs, that means that you get to evolve. You get to evolve your message, your brand, your purpose, your vision. Because as you grow, you will outgrow, and you're going to find that things that once felt super aligned no longer feel aligned. And that's okay. What's important is that you're constantly following the things that really light you up, that you're constantly working to embody who you be today. So for me, with the upcoming launch of my book, Potent Leadership, it just felt like it was time to evolve the podcast. And instead of just killing this podcast and starting a new one, I really want to embody the evolution and just show you that it's possible to embody without Shakti energy, inducing destruction and having to destroy things in order to create new, because you can just evolve, right? You can just honor the evolution. So fingers crossed. And I say this because sometimes iTunes has its own plans and doesn't really follow yours, but fingers crossed that by the next episode, so by next Monday, the podcast will show up on iTunes, Spotify, and all other listening platforms, including YouTube, as Potent Truth with Ruby Fremon. I fucking love this name so much. And if you follow me on social media, you know that I definitely share Potent Truth. Those are my quotes. It just felt right to embody that with this podcast, especially since since starting this podcast, I have definitely started to lean more and more into into my voice and into my potency. And if you've been listening for a while, you've probably noticed that as well. So with the evolution of Potent Truth, expect to be led more to your own edges with the guests that I'll be bringing on. Um, and by edges, I mean challenging your current belief systems as well as my own. I think it's important, especially in the times that we're in, for us to have the willingness to expand our minds and to challenge our thinking because things are not always as they seem. So, with all of that being said, like I said, hopefully by the next episode, we will be the Potent Truth with Ruby Fremon. So, be on the lookout for that. Okay. And for today's episode, which should be the final edition of today's Thought Leader, I want to talk about sovereignty. So, sovereignty, or the idea of sovereignty, is something that came into my world about, I would say, 3 years ago at a coaching event. And one of the coaches there was, her main niche was sovereignty. And to me, the word felt really foreign. I loved the word because I'm all about sexy words and words that evoke emotion. Sovereignty feels really good to say. But what does it mean? And that's kind of where I found myself when I first heard the word being thrown around. And in the past couple of years, especially in this past year, sovereignty has become the word. And I don't want to call it a buzzword because I don't think it's a buzzword. I believe it's a very potent and powerful word that we all need to embody. And in fact, what's been happening in our world is leading us to reclaim our sovereignty. I think that that's the lesson in everything, is to reclaim our sovereignty. And I want, instead of reading the definition, I want to describe it to you. So to me, sovereignty is really reclaiming our truth, our voice, reclaiming our intuition, learning to trust ourselves and to listen to ourselves and to stand in our power. And we all have that ability within us. But what's happened is through your upbringing, the way in which you were raised by your parents or whoever raised you, as well as the educational system and society, we have been taught to not trust ourselves. We have been taught to trust the authorities, to trust those in white jackets, to trust those with doctorates, with degrees that say that we can trust them. We have been taught to trust the medical system, to trust big pharma, to trust the food industries, to trust the educational system, to trust the information that is being fed to us through our textbooks. We've been taught to trust the media, to trust the news, to trust journalism, to trust the, as my friend Shervine says, tell a vision, the TV. We've been taught to trust the external world more than we trust our internal world. And this is what has gotten us to where we find ourselves today. A complete collapse in our society. You know, we hear the term brainwashing and sheeple thrown around a lot these days. And I got to say, I hate the term sheeple. I think it's disempowering and disrespectful. And it doesn't account for the fact that our entire world has really programmed us to obey, to comply. And our society has kind of primed human beings to become susceptible of brainwashing techniques. So if you've ever used the term sheeple, I encourage you to stop using it, because everyone is literally just doing their best with what they know, what's been shown to them, what they have, what's available to them. We need to have more compassion for that. But what we're seeing in our world and this collapse as our society as we know it is the programming, is the brainwashing, is people being led even further away from their inner voices, from their ability to trust themselves. And they are being told in much louder and bolder ways to trust everything but themselves, to trust the media, to trust the quote unquote science, to trust the medical doctors in the white jackets, but only the medical doctors in the white jackets that they deem are people that you get to listen to, not the ones that they censor for sharing different information. They are telling you to trust the vaccine, the experimental vaccine, which has not completed its trials. And I believe the trials actually complete in the year 2026, meaning you are the trial. You are the experiment. They're telling you to trust that. They're telling you to trust the mask. The mask that has been debunked in multiple recent scientific studies, including the Stanford study, to test the effectiveness of masks when it comes to the virus. And we're being told to trust all these things in so many different ways. So now more than ever, it is important for you to reclaim your sovereignty, to reclaim sovereignty of your mind and your body. Yes, my friends, you get to choose what goes into your body. You get to choose how to take care of your body. You get to choose what's best for you. And if anyone makes you feel otherwise, you need to remove yourself from that situation immediately, because you and only you know what's best for you. Now, I've shared this in other episodes. Like, I have been diagnosed with multiple conditions and disorders and diseases that doctors have told me are irreversible, are incurable, that I'd be on a prescription for the rest of my life. And I've cured all of these things because I have never taken a diagnosis and made it my truth. I believe in my body's capacity to heal. If you think about a cut on your finger, just think about a cut on your finger. What happens if you don't do anything to that cut? Like you don't put any antibiotic solution on it or a Band-Aid. Like, what would happen? The cut eventually heals. Our body is this incredible machine that is built with everything it needs to heal itself. And our minds, if you take your mind and separate it from all of the illusions and the projections from society, from the educational system, from your upbringing, from your religious programming, from your cultural programming, if you separate it, you're going to find that you actually do have your own thoughts. You actually do have your own opinions on things. But what makes it really difficult to understand what your own thoughts and opinions are is the noise that comes from everything and everyone else. So when it comes to sovereignty, it's about reclaiming your mind, reclaiming your body, reclaiming your ability to heal, your ability to think freely, your ability to make the best choices for you. Because you and only you understand what's best for you. And refuse to let anyone tell you any different, including your coaches and your doctors and your counselors and your therapists, because you and only you know what's best for you. And some people may be listening to this and thinking, well, you're just privileged and you're privileged with good health and you're privileged with all these things. And I say, fuck that. Okay. I have been to hell and back with my health. I have chosen to take sovereignty over my body. I've multiple times over and over again. I've chosen to take sovereignty over my mind. I've chosen to deprogram myself from my cultural upbringing and religious upbringing and uncover and tap into my own program. And everyone can do this. Okay? Everyone can do this. So when it comes to sovereignty, I think it's important to understand when you're not in your sovereignty. When you not, what are the signs that you're not in your sovereignty? What are the signs that you're not in your power, that you're not in your truth, that you don't trust yourself? And I'm going to share these signs with you. And then soon after this episode airs, I will also create a swipe through that you'll find on my Instagram. So be on the lookout for that. But how do we know when we're not in our sovereignty? How do you know when you're not really in a state of full self-trust? Well, let me tell you. If you rely on the opinions of others to make decisions, you're not in your sovereignty. If you're constantly consuming information without actually integrating the information, without actually taking that information, bringing it into your system and doing something with it, you're not in your sovereignty. If you do not believe in your body's innate ability to heal, you're not in your sovereignty. If you depend on others to take care of your health for you, you're not in your sovereignty. If you are not willing to own beliefs that differ from the beliefs of others, you're not in your sovereignty. If you don't understand that you get to choose what's best for you, you're not in your sovereignty. If you are too afraid of other people's judgments to stand in your truth, you are not in your sovereignty. If you aren't willing to take a stand for your needs and your values and what's most meaningful to you, you're not in your sovereignty. If you are constantly worrying about how you're perceived by others, you're not in your sovereignty. If you're easily influenced by others, you're not in your sovereignty. If you continue to fuel your body with processed foods and medications, you're not in your sovereignty. If you rely solely on medication and injections to heal and feel better, you're not in your sovereignty. If you're not willing to think for yourself, you're not in your sovereignty. So take a moment to reflect on that. And if you need to, hit rewind and listen to that again. Because now more than ever, it's important. It's crucial to your well-being, mind, body, and spirit, to be in your sovereignty. Because the world is going to continue to challenge you. It's going to continue to push you towards your edge. It's going to continue to try and break you down and make you comply and make you obey and make you follow orders that do not align with you, orders that do not have your best interest at heart. So if you're not in your sovereignty, if you're not in your power, if you do not trust yourself, you will be thrown over the edge. You will become easily programmed, easily brainwashed. And that's not conducive to where you want this world to go. I know because you're listening to this podcast, I know that you want better for humanity. And that starts with you. In order for our collective to enter this new earth, in order for our collective to enter this new way of being, a better way, a way that really paves the way for future generations to have a better experience on this planet, you have to own your sovereignty. It all starts with you. Imagine if every single person on this planet really did the work to own their truth, to trust themselves, to be a sovereign being. That in itself would shift humanity. That in itself would bring our collective into this vision that we have for the new earth. So, my invitation to you today is to own your sovereignty, to do what you need to do to learn how to trust yourself, to trust your inner knowing, to trust your intuition, to do what you know is best for you. Because that is what's going to help our collective move forward. If this message hit you in all the right places, please share it with a friend. Help me get this podcast out to more listeners around the world by downloading a few episodes and leaving a rating and review on iTunes. And remember that by next week, hopefully, fingers crossed, today's thought leader will be Potent Truth with Ruby Fremon. Thank you so much for joining me in the final edition, I think, of today's thought leader, where I'm challenging you to activate the leader within. And remember, the podcast is evolving and will undergo the name change, so be on the lookout for Potent Truth with Ruby Fremon. Drop a rating and review on iTunes. And if you want to stay in touch, the best way to do that is either follow me on Instagram and Twitter at I am Ruby, or text hashtag TTL to 17813360160 to join my phone community. And yes, you will be texting directly with me. Don't forget, the book Potent Leadership is coming out in July. Get on the wait list, because for those who are on the wait list, you will gain first dibs on the book as well as access to the bonuses. So the link to get on the wait list for the book is rubyfremon.com/book waitlist. And finally, make sure that you check back on Monday for a brand new episode, hopefully featuring the new podcast name, Potent Truth. Thank you, leaders. I so appreciate you. And just remember, right now in the world, your work is needed, your truth is needed, your sovereignty is needed.